Hey, third graders, Ms. Chow here. It's our lesson for Tuesday. We're moving into subtraction now, three-digit numbers. And so I'm going to try it this way where I'll share the screen and we'll watch the visual learning video together. All right.
How can you break large subtraction problems into smaller ones? At the end of the fourth round of a game of Digit Derby, Marco's score was 462 points. During the fifth round of the game, Marco loses points. What is Marco's score at the end of the fifth round? Find 462 minus 181. How does knowing place value help you to break apart a subtraction problem?
Place value can help you break a subtraction problem into smaller problems.
When you break apart numbers by place value, you subtract hundreds, tens, and ones. The larger subtraction problem is broken into smaller, easier problems.
All right, let's try this. So, step by step. Same problem, 462 minus 181. First step, subtract the hundreds. Okay, so rather than starting from right to left and subtract the ones and see if we need to regroup to subtract the tens and so on, we're just trying it in this different strategy. So partial differences is kind of like the inverse or the opposite of partial sums when we added together the hundreds, the tens, and the ones. So now we're going to be subtracting the hundreds, then the tens, and so on. So here we go, 462. First we subtract 100, and that leaves us with 362, right? And then we still have 81 to subtract. So here we go. So you need to subtract 8 tens, right, from the 462 or from the 362, but there are not enough tens. There's only 6. So first subtract these 6 tens or 60. You see how they're doing that here in this step. 362 minus 60 equals 302. So we subtract as many tens as we can. And then as we drag the slider down, we see the next step is to subtract the remaining 2 tens. Remember, we were only able to subtract 6 tens, but there were 8 tens that we need to subtract. So after we take away or subtract the 6 tens, that gives us 302. So then we subtract the remaining 2 tens, so minus 20. That leaves us with 282. Remember, we have 1 to subtract. So that's that last step. There we go. 282 minus 1 equals 281.
Now find the answer. Step 1. Start with 462. Subtract the hundreds. 462 minus 100 equals 362. So far, 100 has been subtracted. Why do you begin by subtracting 100?
So think about what you learned from the try it or just what you know about numbers and place value. What would you say? Why do you begin by subtracting 100?
Because it is usually easiest to subtract the greatest place value first. How do you know 362 is the difference after you have subtracted 100 from 462? The digit in the hundreds place is 1 less. Step 2. Next, start with 362. Subtract the tens. You need to subtract 8 tens, but there are not enough tens. First, subtract 6 tens. 362 minus 60 equals 302. Then subtract the remaining 2 tens. 302 minus 20 equals 282. Why do you break 80 into 60 and 20?
What do you think?
Because 60 is easier to subtract from 362. So far, 100 plus 60 plus 20 equals 180 has been subtracted. That leaves just 1 to subtract. Step 3, subtract the ones. 282 minus 1 equals 281. 100 plus 60 plus 20 plus 1 equals 181 has been subtracted. At the end of the 5th round, Marco's score is 281 points. You solved the problem by breaking a large subtraction problem into smaller ones.
Alrighty. So now we're going to take a look at some of the guided practice. So let me go back to the page in my screen that has all of this info. Here's a digital version of what you've got in your own workbook. So we're not going to do the visual learning, the solve and share today. Instead, just go ahead and turn right to page 501. This is what the top of 501 looks like. So we can just talk through number 1. You don't have to write the answers down, but number 1 states, why do you need to record the numbers you subtract at each step? So think about that. We've got a certain number that we know we need to subtract. We're breaking apart that number into smaller problems. First, taking away, subtracting 100, then subtracting tens, then subtracting the ones. So we take each part that's being subtracted and add all those together to find out, okay, how much have we subtracted at this point? It needs to equal that original number being subtracted. So it's easier to explain it with examples here. So let's skip number 2 and just go right over here to number 1. So it says in these, you use place value to help break the problem into smaller problems, and they break that up for us already in these examples, and then up a little bit with the independent practice. And then at the bottom of the page, you're given less help to determine how you should be subtracting the smaller parts. So first, the original problem is 374 minus 236. So we're taking the greatest place value, the hundreds, there's 2 of them, and you're first subtracting 200 from 374. All right, so you can do that in your workbook right here. I just realized I'm recording this on Zoom, and I'm trying it this way, and I don't have my, let's see, I don't have my whiteboard thing set up at the moment. Okay, so I realized I wasn't able to write on the screen, so I'm trying with little chart paper. What I'm not sure about is whether or not this is backwards for you. So I think this is right. We'll have to see. On my view, it is backwards, but okay, we'll figure this out. So this is guided practice number 3, page 501. We're asked to find 374 minus 236. Okay, so first we take the 200 and subtract it from our original number. 374 minus 200. Remember, should the digit 3 should go, it should be 2 less when we subtract. Let me say that another way. So we're taking 300s and subtracting 200s from them. So that will leave us with 100. And we still have 7 10s and we still have 4 1s, right? So now we rewrite that number we have now, 174. Now remember, we went ahead and we subtracted the 200s. Now we need to take 3 10s away. So subtract, right? Subtract 30. So 174 minus 30 equals how much? We still have 100. Instead of 7 10s, what's 3 fewer than 7? 4. We still have the 4 1s, right? So here's our running total. Now, take that 144. Okay, so we took away, or we subtracted the 3 10s, the 200s. Now we need to subtract 6 1s. But if you take a look at the number 144, there aren't enough 1s to take 6 away. So let's take away as many as we can first, which is 4. So 144 minus 4. Notice I'm just trying to keep it lined up by place value. Minus 4, all right, equals 140. Now we've taken away, of the 6, we've only taken away 4. How many more do we need to take away? How many more do we need to subtract? Another 2, right? So we've got 140. Now we need to subtract 2. And you can do that by counting backwards. 138. So that's our final answer. And to be sure, we take a look at all of the numbers that we subtracted. Let me use a different color here. I'll just have a green crayon. So we took away 200, we subtracted 30, we subtracted 4, and we subtracted 2. So if we add up all these numbers that were being subtracted, find the sum of all these numbers. I guess I'll just use some space over here. So just to make it super clear. So 200 plus 30 plus 4 plus 2, this is a 0, equals what? 230, and 4 plus 2 is 6. 236. So we have to check, does the sum of all the numbers that we took away or we subtracted, does the sum equal the original number that was supposed to be subtracted? when we're finding the difference by breaking apart the number into smaller problems, when we add those back together, all those numbers that were being subtracted, it needs to equal the same number. And it does. So we know that 138 is the correct answer. 374 minus 236 equals 138. All right, let me pause it. So back to my screen share. This we just did number 3. Now you go ahead and try guided practice number 4. It's guided practice, so I'd like you to take out your workbook and actually do it right now. And the guidance will be me making sure that you end up with the right answer as you go step by step. So this is number 4, find 369 minus 175 by taking the different parts by place value, 175, taking it away or subtracting bit by bit. So, it actually kind of guides you through right here. 369 minus 100. Fill in your answer here. So you may have noticed that if you keep going further down, 269, that's the answer. So then we've got 269 minus 60. Just make sure you're understanding why are they taking away 60 at this point. And so you should have gotten 209. And then the third step, 209 minus 10. That is the rest of that's the remaining 10s that weren't taken away with the 6 10s. So one more 10. So that takes you down to 199. Now subtract the 1s. So 199 minus 5 is that last part that you need to solve and write down on that final answer. Hopefully you got 194. Okay. Yes. So then, scrolling down, it's independent practice. If you're choosing to work in your workbook, then this is what you do. Numbers 5 through 10 on this page. First few problems take you step by step. The last 3 ask you to do it on your own. So for 8, 9, and 10, it doesn't mean solve those problems any way you choose. You're still supposed to follow the steps to find each difference, taking away the hundreds, then as many 10s as you can, based on what's there. Then the remaining 10s, and then the 1s. And then if there are remaining 1s you need to take after that. Depends on how many you start with. So try the same strategy with numbers 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so it's just going to be those 6 problems. You might need to solve 8, 9, and 10 on separate paper. If you do that and you're planning to come to the 2 p.m. math check-in, then you can just hold your paper up right to the screen so that I can see you solved those 3 problems the way that we learned for this lesson. Or if you don't plan to or don't end up getting a chance to join our 2 p.m. math check-in today, then your parent just needs to take a photograph, take a little picture of this workbook page and email it to me or scan a copy to me, or you can do that on email or Schoology. And I just need to be able to see evidence that you're solving these problems on your own. So then when they're sending that photograph, you don't need to include the guided practice part at the top. I'm not expecting you to fill in the answers for 1 and 2. We basically just did number 3 together on this chart paper. If you did write it in as we went along, that's fine. If you want to show me your work for number 4, you can. But the most important part is that I need a picture of your independent practice page, the bottom part of page 501. Okay. As far as problems on the back, yeah, I'm going to make it optional. You can do number 15. It's optional. Be sure to read the captions. The Great Dane, this one in particular, weighs 145 pounds. The Basset Hound weighs 66 pounds. So you can read the problem yourself. And if you end up choosing to do number 15, because again, that's optional, then you can, and you want to share your work with me, you can show me at the 2 p.m. math check-in or have your parent send me a picture of that side too. Okay, and as always, you'll have the option of doing this work online instead. You can find the same visual learning video again if you want to watch that. There's also the Another Look video, and you can choose Quick Check or Practice Buddy. Okie dokie, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Bye.